All right. So I posted a live stream link and let's get into it. So PNTT playoffs, we had Nashville, Shreveport, Houston, Macon, Glendale, Bloomington, Oakland, New York City, Las Vegas, Carbondale, Reno, Mesa, Daytona, Yakima, Plainview, Huntington Beach, Montpelier, Salt Lake City, Ann Arbor, Knoxville, and Flagstaff and Rockford. So we start off with Glendale beating Macon by 13, Macon the defending runner-up in League 31. Great team right there, but they just couldn't get it done. James Moore had a big game, 8 for 14. Lewis Jackson, 11 for 25. And even David Campbell had 20 points, 15 rebounds, 4 blocks. Or he's at 4 steals, I think maybe 4 steals. But big games for them. And Macon just couldn't get it done. They didn't get to the line. They didn't make enough shots, and Glendale beat them, especially the 9 for 18 three-pointers really helped them in that first game. I'll zoom in a little bit so that everyone can see a little better. All right, we'll go a little more. All right, in that next game, so Glendale goes on to face, they went into the quarterfinals, so that was good for them. New York City had Oakland. Oakland's got a really solid team, but it just wasn't working today. And really, it was Eric Brown, 38 points on 29 shots. The guy was just a beast. He really carried almost half the points for his team. He really carried them. Arthur Scott just couldn't really keep up with him. Blake Villaverde did his best, but it just wasn't enough in the loss. So New York City moved on. This was a rematch, and Salt Lake City, they just had such a tough schedule. They still made it. They played Ann Arbor, low-scoring affair, just really low-scoring. Staples did okay. Zimmerman did okay. They only shot 43%, but they held Salt Lake City at 37%. Salt Lake City only was 1 for 6 from 3, when Ann Arbor was 7 for 21, and that was really, really the difference. Big game for them. Hayden Garcia did as much as he could, but it was only 11 for 42. Not enough from the League Player of the Year. You want more out of him. That's a tough loss, especially because they beat him earlier in the season. We can look at that real quick. Let's look at Ann Arbor in that game. So in that game, it was another low-scoring player. Hayden Garcia didn't do that great. Maxwell Williams didn't do that great. DeBerry, and they didn't shoot well, but they did enough to win because they got to the line. In this game, not that one. In this game, it was a little different. He kept the same lineup. He went Liam Hopkins at so same lineup for Salt Lake City. Ann Arbor switched up their point guard and put Zimmerman instead of Staples at point guard, and that seemed to help them a little bit. Even though Staples did fine the first game, they lost. Zimmerman only played 13 minutes in that game, and that might have been the difference. In this game, Zimmerman got 35 minutes, 24 points. He was very big. Staples did fine at shooting guard. So Ann Arbor advances. They move on to face Montpelier. That game hasn't happened yet. So big game here. Rockford played Knoxville. Is that right? Yeah, it is right. Knoxville, who'd they play first? Did I miss that game? I thought Knoxville played Flagstaff. I think they won. Oh, I think it was posted actually in the other thread. Let me look at this real quick. It's like, what is going on here? Could be wrong. Yeah, Knoxville with the butt whooping. So they won in this game. We'll just look at it real quick, then we'll go back. So I was like, man, I thought they won. Knoxville just played out of their minds. Jordan James with 30 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 blocks. But that's just a big boy game. 13 for 18. You can't do much better than that. And it just wasn't the night for Flagstaff. They just struggled, and 96 points. They lost by 31. So not very close. And then Rockford comes back and they win that one. And that was a big win. That's a good team they played. And what happened was Trevor Jackson had the opportunity to go up against Jordan James. He didn't do that great. I mean, Jordan James still went 11 for 19. He's going to get his, but and they shot 54%, but they gave up 56.6%. And a lot of that was Liam Pennell, who had 32 points on 19 shots. Great game for Liam. The guy just took it to work. They got 109 points in regulation. This team can score. And you look at Rockford, and this is a team that I think we need to look at a little bit more. I mean, I'm not sure. They lost one game, but they're putting up, let's see, if you go combined, they're putting up 94 points per game. They lost that one game to Lansing by 4. I'm not sure exactly what happened here, but Nassim Sariba, 31 points in that game. And they just played good defense, held Rockford, and this was an overtime game. So Lansing, they ran a zone here. They've been running zone all year. That was a big win for them. That's huge. That's one of the best teams in the country. Lansing hasn't necessarily done great the rest of it, but Rockford just looks really solid. They're scoring tons of points. 112 against Worcester in a 42-point win. Beat Shreveport. I mean, I don't know if anyone can keep up with them. A lot of the other teams are very defensive oriented. Rockford can put up points with Colin Martin, the junior, and these guys are all underclassmen. So Cheatham, Jackson. I mean, this team's Douglas Champion coming off the bench, another tie he's got. So what are you going to do? This team's looking good. I'm excited to see how they are moving forward. So Huntington Beach played Plainview, and that was a low-scoring game. Look at all these teams are low-scoring. Can any of them keep up with Rockford? Rockford's not the best defensive team, but man, we'll see. I'm excited to see what happens. Will they play zone? I don't know. A lot will depend on how that winner of the Ann Arbor Montpelier game does against a really solid Rockford team. So in this game, Plainview lost. Liam Green went 0 for 11. That hurts. I mean, just going 0 for is never a good thing. They shot 34%. Huntington Beach didn't shoot that well, but they used their defense. Seth Johnson came through. Ishmael Morris. No one played amazing, but they played good enough to win. So just great defense. And Plainview could not keep up. All right, Daytona played Yakima. Yakima is really solid. They won this thing a couple of years ago. James Parker did not do well, but he got to the line a lot. Scored 20 points. Kyle Court played well. Solid win. They didn't shoot great, but you look at that, they didn't really turn it over, only 10 to 16. So that helps a little bit. And they made their threes and really made their free throws. They got to the line 21 times. So interesting there. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. New York City in their second round got the undefeated 4-seed Bloomington College, and Gianni Booker, he put up 30 points, but it wasn't enough. Eric Brown scored 29 on 26 shots, so not the most efficient, but they rounded it together. They got to the line 22 times. They made 12 of those compared to only 6 for Bloomington. So getting to the line was huge. They got some offensive rebounds. They got 13 compared to Bloomington's 5. And Bloomington had 12 turnovers and they only had 8, I believe. So that's something. New York City's been playing really well. I don't think the coach was very excited. He said, "I wish we won like this in the regular season." Very surprised to still be alive in the tournament. So, I mean, you know what? Obviously, you wish you win like that in the regular season, but if you can parlay this into a championship, that's all that matters, right? Like get that hardware, try and take it home, go OSU. That'd be huge for you guys. You guys have been doing well. So, this is a double post here, from Brad. Iowa banker said he's coming home from vacation. And then Burnell posts a win for Houston over Shreveport. Big win for Houston. I think that's their first PNTT victory in the playoffs. So that's really big. They won 75-65. Uh, you know, they got to the line 19 times. They could make those. Turned it over 8 times. Made a few threes, and they just won. So great games from Clayton Hunter and Devontae Clark, 20 and 29. Milligan wasn't as efficient, but he still had 18. It was enough to win. Gibney did not do great. 8 for 20. I mean, he's a solid player for sure. Charles Stewart had a good game, just filled up the stat sheet, but it wasn't enough. Cody Harvey looks like he got in foul trouble, fouled out with only 16 minutes. That hurts. So Houston went on. They played Nashville, and we beat them by 14. Neely had 37 points, 5 rebounds, and a sit. I don't know. Wait 1 second. Offense, defense. 3 steals, 30 game score. We're still played well. I liked how we played defense. We've been playing great defense. We gave up 47%, but we got to the line 20 times and made 18, which is pretty rare for us. That was big. That really propelled us to victory here. In this Las Vegas Carbondale game, Las Vegas wins. They played decent defense, but Austin Armstrong with 28 points from the power forward position. And a little help from Garandos off the bench, playing 21 minutes when they got in some foul trouble. Really, their bench really did well in this game, and that led to the Loco Lobos victory. Mesa went up against Daytona, and they took care of business. James Parker kind of struggled. Christian Locke struggled. They played great defensively, up to 41%. I like this Mesa team. They're moving. They're cruising. What was it? George Longoria went 9 for 10, 22 points, 10 rebounds, 4 blocks. I mean, you got to like that. So Eric Barnhart had 26. That was big for him. So Glendale versus Nashville. I mean, we just dominated. We held them to 31% from the field. James Moore went 2 for 20. Lewis Jackson, 7 for 30. David Campbell, 5 for 16. So just a struggle for Glendale offensively. And, Neely only played a few minutes, but he went 8 for 17, 20 points in 18 minutes. Ezekiel Gonzalez did pretty well off the bench with 17, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. So that was nice to see from a backup. Yeah, I mean, I like this. I like how we played. We're playing well, and now we're in the semis because of it. Reno played Las Vegas, and in that game, Coach Wynn says he wants this to be a rivalry. And the Rollers just rolled them 90 points. Thomas Figueroa, 26 on 18 shots. Pablo Crocker played great. These guys have some real talent. He put Angel McMahon was off the bench, and he did well. And it just wasn't enough. They weren't. Las Vegas wasn't good enough. I think they got their first win in the PNTT with that win in the first round, but then they lost in this one, so that was tough for them. The first of 2 matchups, they played a rematch today, and Huntington actually won. They made a little switch, but in this game, the game that's more important, Eric Barnhart, Cooper Holmes, Christian Simpson, I mean, they all played great. They scored a lot of points. They scored 45%. They scored 87. They held the other team to 71. So we got a lot of defensive teams. As you look at this bracket, it's really interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting. You got Nashville and Mesa punching their tickets to the semis. That's big for us. I like it. We're gonna play the winner of New York and Reno. Um, Tough matchup there. I mean, Brown's playing incredible right now. We'll look at these teams real quick. Um, so New York and Reno. Um, so Reno's got solid players. They're really deep. They got a lot of talent on their team. He's just got to figure out what's he going to do with the team. You look at their per 30s, it's like bam, like these guys are really, really good. McMahon, Crocker, Carlton, Figueroa, big man splitting time with Jonathan Stewart back there. Gutierrez, a freshman tie, playing the bench role. Um, Trey Harrell. I mean, these guys are just really good. They're going to be tough. I think they're up there with the favorites for sure. They've only lost one game. They lost in overtime to Knoxville by 3 points, and that's because this Jordan James kid is incredible. But so that's an interesting one to look at. I'm interested to see how it plays out. If they can beat New York. New York, they rely a lot on Eric Brown, the senior. Eric Brown and Derek Mavs. Those two are both really solid players. You look at he's got more of a senior lated base team. And then Dylan Kane is a really solid sophomore. So he relies on him. There's a lot of talent on this team in the starting lineup and on the bench. I'm excited to see how they move forward. So the winner of that game will play us. And it's hard to pick against Reno right now. They're just rolling, pun intended. They beat Las Vegas pretty good. They got this New York team, but New York City's rolling too. They beat a really solid Oakland team, and Bloomington was undefeated. Bloomington's such an interesting team because I think they were 6-0 plus 47. Every game was so close, but they kept winning, So that gave them the 4 seed. Looking at the other bracket, Mesa looks really solid. Mesa's going to go up against the winner of Montpelier and Ann Arbor, who plays Rockford. So the winner of that game. You got to give Rockford the edge, I think. Even though Montpelier is the 1 seed, they lost today to Rochester by 1 in overtime. I just don't know if anyone can keep up with. So they only scored 77. They hold teams to 67. I don't know if anyone can keep up with Rockford or anyone can slow them down. So Montpelier, they're going to go up against Ann Arbor. Defensive matchup, both teams, they're pretty similar, but it depends. You got Freeman, Tyson, and Willie Walker going up against Donovan and Zimmerman. Zimmerman's a beast. Dominic Zimmerman, let's go combined. Yeah, he won 19. He's a solid player. He's getting a little foul trouble. If he gets in foul trouble, they're in trouble. But they haven't shot the best, but they're 1-3. They did win. But they're a lot better than that. That. This team's solid. They beat a really good Salt Lake City team. So I don't know who wins this. I could see it going either way. Probably Montpelier at this rate, but I don't think either team can keep up with this Rockford team. I'd be really interested to see how this plays out. Rockford just has so many weapons at so many spots. It's looking, and I'm excited for that, the winner of that game. But if Rockford plays Mesa's really solid. They did lose today. We talked about that, but they got some dogs. It just seems like a lot of defensive teams. Then you got Reno and Rockford. I like those two teams. I think those two teams are the favorites. I'd love to see them in the championship. I'd love it from a spectator standpoint. I would not love it as a team that's in the PNTT finals or PNTT semifinals. Like I want to be there. I want to be in the championship. I think we could beat Reno for sure. I think we could beat New York City too. I think New York City could beat Reno. If Brown gets hot, what's Reno going to do? But Reno's just got so many weapons. It's all a matter of, did he pick the right ones at the right time? So we'll see. And then Rockford, they're solid too. So I think yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I like where we're at right now. We're in that semi, waiting for that New York Reno game. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And then we'll get the other side of the bracket kind of playing out. And then before the championship happens, we'll get one of those we'll get a coach on the whatever it's called, a pregame interview, and we'll talk it through. We'll figure it out. But yeah, so I'm excited. Well, thanks for listening in, guys. Hopefully